I don't know if you can actually see my face because this is like a handheld camera, but no, I'm busy. Go on. I figured I'd just film myself using this Spokeshave. This I made this Spokeshave. It's beech, and I made the blade out of a sawzall blade, and I threaded the screws. I mean, I tapped the holes out, drilled a hole and tapped it, and used just little electrical screws for it. But it works really well. I use it for roughing, for smoothing spoons. I rough them out with an axe and a knife and a gouge. But anyway, this is a sassafras spoon. You can see this was where the bark was, and I carved the spoon into the outside of it. And I did this when I got to work before everybody else, and took a little split of sassafras and roughed it out with uh, a gouge. This is an old Buck Brothers gouge, probably 100, 120 years old, and a Norland axe. It's my Norland, and then now I'm home and I'm uh, working it with a Spokeshave. But anyway, I'm gonna I might start filming a little bit of what I do, just because I'm the only person I know that does it around here, and seems like something that people might be interested in doing. I know people do it on. I've seen plenty of videos on YouTube of people working on something, carving or spoons or kuksas or whatever. But I found by accident I was using a plane to try and smooth something that you can take this in particular and hold it with your fingers and put your fingers behind the Spokeshave, and like you're peeling potatoes, go like this. And I found that it works really well for doing the bowls, the outside of the bowls on spoons. It took me a little bit of trial and error to get this Spokeshave to work properly. Since I've never operated a Spokeshave before, I've never owned one, and I just went back and looked at the older, more old-fashioned type stuff. Uh, I put the heartwood of the beech right here in front of the blade because you gotta use that as your that it skates on that, so it'll wear faster than anywhere else. And then the handles really don't have to be this long. But anyway, it's like everything else. It took me just a little while to figure out that if I put a piece of paper in here behind there and got it out just a little further, it'd take off just a little bit more wood, but it seemed to work better. I had it where it was just taking off a sliver, and I actually like it taking off a little bit more, so I just spaced it out with a piece of paper, thick cardstock style paper. But I used to just carve all of this part with my belt knife. When I do rough out and carve, I use this. I don't know if I've got that in the right place for the camera, but I do blacksmithing work, and this is a hand-forged knife out of a coil spring. And if you can hear them dogs in the background, it's a bunch of little good-for-nothing Chihuahua dogs over in the neighbor's yard, and that's the only thing that they do well is bark, which is okay if you if you use them for alarms. But they should be used to me by now, but apparently not. You see them fine curls coming out of that Spokeshave. I don't know if y'all can, if the video's picking it up or not, but you can see through those curls. They make really, really good fire starter. This sassafras is not real dry, but it was split maybe a week ago, so it's not real wet either, so it gives you an idea that sassafras isn't the hardest wood, but it's not real green. And you see, I'm getting close to these edges here. I'm actually gonna bevel them down a little bit, smooth them. This spoon's a little bit thin. I'm not sure how thin sassafras will do for the leading edge. Usually on maple, I can take this leading edge down to where you can see through it. With the sun, you can hold it up to the sunlight and see through it. But on sassafras, it seems like it's probably not quite as strong as maple. And so I'm not sure that I can take it down to the same thickness. And I kind of got it about as probably thinner than it should be. But anyway, I got a box of spoons that I just keep putting them in. I don't really sell them. I just give them away. But I kind of want to thin down the neck. It's a little thick here, even though I smoothed it all. I'm gonna. You won't be able to see that in the video because you see I'm smoothing it. Not smoothing it, thinning it. With my knife. And this knife was made from a coil spring, and I've tempered it and hardened it. And I do sell knives, so I haven't sold any spoons, but I have sold knives. And I swap knives. I swap all kinds of stuff. I prefer, I got to where I kind of prefer barter over cash anyway. Even though you got to have cash to live, I guess. Seeing right here, I'm just taking those flakes that I got, those curls I got turned up, just taking them all the way out because I got plenty of thickness right there. See, I wanted to thin this profile right here because it's too thick. I don't mind having a little bit of I kind of gonna leave like a keel on this where it's kind of sharp right here, not real sharp, but I just want it kind of thinner where it transitions to the handle. And this is kind of like a general purpose soup spoon. Not like you eat with, but you would dip beans out of a pot or something. It's about the right size for that kind of thing. And see, I'm gonna take some of the keel off just a little bit to kind of narrow this proportion this way. And I know I haven't shown how I roughed it out, but I'm sure I'll do one of those too. I'm just kind of doing this video for fun. It's my wife's little Samsung camera, and it's really good at taking pictures, but not so great at doing video. So if I decide that I want to do more videos, I might end up going and getting I got a little, like a handy cam type camcorder I might end up using. And if I get really ambitious, I'll get me a tripod. But see, I've changed that profile right here, narrowed it down. This is wide, kind of shallow, so it'll be kind of flat there. And that bark, see, that bark's just flaking off. You can tell the wood's just a little bit drier than I usually carve them a little greener than this and let them dry. But this one here, it got to be got to dry out a little bit. I got another one that's the twin of this one, came out of the same piece of wood. I might go get and rough out another spoon. But you see, I took the bark off just now. And this one here, see, after I get to this point, I can actually take the Spokeshave and finish the contouring. I can even get up here on this, where I'm on the top of the handle, and I don't know if you can see them little tiny slivers, little curls coming out of that Spokeshave. If anybody wants a Spokeshave, it's like this. I can probably make one. I don't know what it'd be worth, but it works just fine. It's a like I said, it's an old used up Sawzall blade I ground up, made it the shape I want. You wouldn't even know it was a Sawzall blade now. And a piece of beech and 2 screws from when I was doing electrical. They're 6/32. I want to say 6/32 or 8/32. Probably 6/32. Maybe they're 8/32. They're the fatter one, 8/32, I think. But anyway, and I'll tap it. I just tap it just like you would in an electrical box, an outlet box, if the threads were messed up. Except I drill a hole and tap it for the screws. And it's not really that adjustable. You kind of get it where it's at and leave it there. And if it wears the wood out, I'll adjust it then. But so far I've done, I don't know, a bunch of spoons. I've done a Kuxa and a dozen spoons, a rolling pin, 2 rolling pins. And I've only had this a couple weeks now. I made it a couple weeks ago. So, and I haven't sharpened it since then, so all these little curls that are coming out of it, that's from when I sharpened it the first time. The sharpness. It doesn't seem to, I didn't change the temper on the Sawzall blade. I didn't heat it up that much. I just ground it kind of slow, and if you do it right with the Spokeshave, you can almost not sand anything. It's kind of like spending a lot of time carving it, except you can do this and just run the Spokeshave back and forth on it, and it takes that little sliver off that makes it nice and smooth. I will say that the Kuxa was a little tougher than this. Kuxa, I don't know how you say it. Maple, it was maple, and seasoned maple too. It wasn't green, and came out real good. I was happy with it. Hope my wife's happy with it since it's her Christmas gift. you notice, I'm using my breastbone to rest everything on when I'm drawing it to me. When I'm pushing away, I push away in just a simple American whittling style. I'm not really the thing on the pulling the knife through the wood like this. That's a European thing. I never was comfortable doing that. But drawing to myself, I tend to hold stuff here and push it into my breastbone, and I end up a little bit bruised on my chest every once in a while when I do something really tough, or a lot of it. But I saw a guy with a leather pad there. I thought that, that's pretty good idea. But anyway, that's almost a spoon. It's almost done. See, I went from a roughed out spoon. I did all this with a gouge. I haven't sanded that or anything. If I sand it, I usually let it dry out for a week or two and then sand it. It'll set in on top of my dresser until it's dry, and then I'll sand it out, and then I'll put it in my spoon box. But I'm gonna take my knife and round this end off a little bit. When I get my blacksmith shop set up a little bit better, right now it's just in a temporary location, kind of out in the weather. But if I set it up right, I don't know, I kind of tend to do whatever I like. And right now I like carving, I like doing blacksmithing, so that's what I've been doing. Anyway, simple kind of rounded that out. It's not the ugliest spoon I've ever done. Probably not the prettiest. And if you notice, I don't know if it'll show in this, but there's a knot running right through here. And this is just like cruising right on through it. It's not really that big a deal to the Spokeshave, especially when you're taking out little tiny pieces. Right now I'm just kind of thinning it. There's a couple little rough spots in the finish. But you can go as light a pressure as you want, and as hard a pressure as you want with this thing. And you really run no risk of cutting yourself at all with it. My brother pointed that out, and he's not much of a wood carver. He hasn't got into it yet. I'm hoping he'll kind of get into it, but at least as a hobby. He pointed out you really can't cut yourself very easily with this thing. The likelihood of it happening is you really had to want to cut yourself with a Spokeshave to do anything with it. Anyway, that's a spoon. You can see it. You can see down it like this. See down it. See, it's not a. I mean, it could be deeper. It could have a better, more efficient use. But I tend to like the egg shape right here, kind of an egg shape, and I like it to be thin out at the point so that you can scoop into something. You can scoop into something real shallow with it. And I don't mind it being a little thick right here because it's not really an issue. It balances well that way. You want it to balance forward a little bit. I like it to be a little bit fatter on the back so that your hand doesn't slide off it real easy. And I don't really like round handles. I kind of like oval or teardrop shaped handles or flat handles. It just seems to do better. But anyway, this is what it looks like before I sand it, if I sand it. And if I sand it, I probably won't sand it much on the outside. It'll probably just be mostly the bowl. Because you can see right here, there are a couple little lines where I couldn't get the gouge. This gouge is what I'm using, and I can't get the gouge all the way down in there and then round out. I don't have a hook knife or anything, so that's just what I do, and then I'll sand the bottom of the bowl a little bit. But anyway, That's it.